You say slow down. I don't like to move too fast. It drowns the truth with things that are not real, and I really want us to.
This is part 5 of the Craftsman Emerson Generation 2 drill press set rebuild. If you haven't seen part 4, click the link at the top of the screen. In this video, we will finish disassembling drill press B. Hello everyone, I'm Jeff and welcome to my shop. We got a lot to cover, so let's get to it. Starting with the motor, notice that that screw right there is bent. We're going to need to fix that. But let's go ahead and remove the motor mount plate. It's held on by these 4 screws here. Just like in drill press A. Next, we're going to remove the pulley. We'll go ahead and remove that set screw that holds it in place. And then we're just going to try to get that pulley off of there. It was moving pretty decently, so I didn't use a puller. And there we go. And the key is actually inside the pulley. So we just need to knock that out. And there we go. Then we'll remove the capacitor cover. Notice the orientation, it actually hangs over the end of the motor a little bit there. And then getting the capacitor out of it is always a little trying for me. And we'll go ahead and remove the 2 wires on the capacitor, mark where they go and mark the wires. Next, we're going to go ahead and try to straighten that screw. Pretty easy. And we'll go ahead and remove these stator screws. You can probably hear my dog barking in the background. There's 4 of these. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and remove the terminal cover and then start disconnecting all the wiring. Now I'm going to mark the wiring. And like the previous motor, all these wires are color coded, and the owner's manual, which is in the description below, does have a wiring diagram on what connects to what terminal on the terminal bar, but I always mark them regardless. That paper that I pulled out explains how to reverse the rotation of the motor. And I think we forgot there's still a wire connected to terminal 3, but we'll come back to it. So this is the other end of the motor, and we're going to go ahead and remove this end shield. Now, unlike the motor on drill press A, this one is a ball bearing motor. And sometimes there is a spring washer in this one. Sometimes there are shims in there right around that kind of shiny lip. They're really hard to see. Then we'll go ahead and remove the ball bearing. We'll be replacing these. Then we've got a retaining ring that the ball bearing rests on. We'll go ahead and remove it. Then we're going to go ahead and remove the rotor from the stator. It's still held in there pretty decently, so we'll tap it from the other end and then pull it out. And it's got the ball bearing on the other end. So here we are on the terminal end, and this is where we realize that there's still a wire connected to the terminal bar. And we'll tuck those wires in, and then we're going to remove the terminal bar and the thermal protection overload switch. We can set all that aside. This is the rotor, and we've got the ball bearing that's on here. We need to get it off. This is the terminal end. Once we've got the ball bearing off, there's a retaining ring. And then we've got the centrifugal actuator assembly that we're going to disassemble. And in the parts diagram, it says that the retaining ring actually sits under that, which it does not. It sits above it. It's got those two springs, then the plastic slider, and the governors on each end. Pretty simple assembly. Alright, so next we're going to remove the motor data panel from the motor shield assembly. And we're going to do this just like we did on the previous motor, where we are going to basically cut a slot in the heads of these two drive screws, and then a tip to spin them out with a flat tip screwdriver. And we're just using the tape to protect the data panel. So just using a Dremel cutoff wheel, we're going to cut a slot in each one of these heads. And I said in the when we were doing this on drill press A that this does not always work. And this is an example of when it doesn't work. So I get these slots pretty center of these heads. But when we try to spin them out, the heads just snap right off. Like that. And this one, we didn't cut the slot deep enough, so we're going to need to recut it. And I'm just looking to see if you could access these from the back side, but you cannot. They are blind holes. And this one is just really giving me a hard time. But I'm trying not to snap the head off. but it snaps off. Now, if these end shields were steel or even cast iron, drilling them out would be a little bit simpler probably, but they're aluminum, and I'm not sure what the material of the drive screws is, but I believe it's harder than the aluminum. So you're going to need to really make sure you're drilling the center of the remaining drive screw, otherwise you're going to get an offset hole. Now I could go ahead and drill all the way through, but I decided not to. Would have made doing this later on, if you ever needed to remove it again, simpler. And there is 2 of those shims. So this terminal end had the shims in there, and they fell out while we were messing with it on this drill press. So there were no shims on the other end, just the terminal end. So once we've got those at a comfortable depth, we're good. Here we are at the vise, and we're going to spin the knobs off of these feed handles. And then we've got the hub and pinion, and we're going to remove the hub from the pinion. Same way we did last time, just using a brass punch. Walk it off of there. Then we've got the chuck that is still on the quill and spindle assembly. We're going to remove it. So I've just chucked in an Allen wrench, and using a spanner wrench, we remove the safety lock collar or loosen it, and it comes right off of the spindle. Then we've got the feed stop bracket. Then we're going to remove the quill retaining ring. We're just using some vice grips to be able to open that up and pull it off of there. Then there is a retaining ring in the top section there that's holding the assembly together. We got to remove it, and that'll allow us to drive the spindle down through that top bearing. And there we go. Now we can just pop that bearing out, flipping that over and smacking a wooden dowel down on the bearing. And you'll see it coming out of the bottom of the quill there, just barely at the bottom of the screen. So now we've got this bearing, and it's got another retaining ring on it. We can remove it. This one gave me a little bit of trouble. You can see that there's a lot of rust on the spindle above the bearing. This section that has all this rust on it is actually inside the quill. And of all the drill presses I've disassembled, I've rarely seen this part of the spindle get rusty, but for some reason this one had a good amount of rust right there. It's going to make getting this bearing off a little harder. So I had to put some WD-40 on there to lubricate that and let it slide a little better. And apparently I did not record disassembling the chuck, but other than that, drill press A has been disassembled, and that completes this video. In the next video, we'll start cleaning all this stuff up. So as always, I appreciate the support, and I will see you next time.